Awesome, I didn't even have to trick you into clapping. No. So, my name is Tairi, and I am not an expert in anything, especially not pregnancy or evolutionary science, but I'm going to do this anyway. So, I'm going to present to you the case for laying eggs and why chickens maybe have a good idea. I propose that we as a species evolve to laying eggs instead of giving live births. For a variety of reasons. So, why pregnancy is outdated? I broke this up into two categories. The first one is really obvious. It's weird and gross. Who here, by a show of alcoholic beverages, has gone through pregnancy before? Two. Okay, everybody needs to catch up. Okay, so I just want to know, what was like the most standout, weird, gross, undignified part of your pregnancy that stands out like, oh, they never told me that, or I might have not gone down that road?
I was vegetarian for 15 years, and then I really started craving meat.
Craving meat?
Literally moaned the first time I had 5 bag burgers.
Nice. So it ruined a lifetime commitment. Next. So yes, pregnancy changes you. The most recent weird thing I've experienced is I every now and then hear a little click, like you're clicking, you're cracking your knuckles, and I realized it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from the baby.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's super weird. So obviously there's a separate person inside of you. And I feel like if you marinate on this, it grows weirder over time. Because this is not me in there. This is a totally different person. And it's really creepy, and there are horror movies based around that concept. So, current moms suddenly seem to hate you, and let me explain that because apparently only 2 people know what I'm talking about. So everybody does the initial, like, congratulations, or like, oh, I'm sorry, like, depending on what camp you're going down. But current moms have this extra little sadistic, like, congratulations, everything is gonna be awful, as they're drinking. So you really find out a lot about humans and sisterhood. Your body and mind become a battlefield, and you lose all dignity. This is not at the very end, this is right away. You lose the power to control your own emotions. I recently cried at Chipotle because they gave me more food than I asked for. And I liked it, but it wasn't what I wanted, so I cried. Also, and I'm gonna get real with you guys, so there might be some words that are kind of gross, but that's the point. Things will happen to your body. You will lose all control of your body functions. Farting is just a thing you're gonna have to deal with. Your nipples get darker. You grow a little line down the middle, like a seam. You can suffer from hemorrhoids. You can suffer from, oh my gosh, I actually had to write these down, they were so gross. You can lose teeth because apparently gum disease is really prominent in pregnancy. You have, there's constant, and I know you're gonna love this word, there's constant discharge going on, and there's stuff even worse than that word, because at the grand finale, you shit yourself in front of everyone that you love, and medical professionals, and someone you theoretically want to have sex with again in the future, so there's that. Pregnant with a boy? There's a boner inside you sometimes. That's a real and true thing that happens, and you're just going to have to deal with that emotionally. Between hormones and the prenatal vitamins you're supposed to take, some women can grow facial hair. I actually shaved right before coming here because I'm a lady. But yeah, it's delightful. And speaking of things that grow, it's not just your feet that grow bigger. Your whole body expands, including certain lady bits that grow to a gross degree, and you'll actually be happy that you can no longer see them.
What?
And now that I've sufficiently grossed you out, now I'm going to get into the real scary part. The dangers of live births.
What is that?
Not only might there be a demon inside you, but despite our modern medicine, and we've done some phenomenal things, death rates or mortality rates for women have actually spiked in the US. Now it's 18.5 for every 100,000 births, which is great. And an even more fun fact is the biggest danger to pregnant women? Murder. In fact, right now, I'm at a higher risk for being murdered than I will be for the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It encourages me not to piss my husband off that much. So that works for him. The cost of giving birth, everybody knows is really expensive. Without insurance, giving birth to like a super uncomplicated, like you sneeze, it comes out, vaginal birth is like $30,000. And a C-section, which if you're having one, it's necessary for the life of the mom and or child, is $50,000 out of pocket. That's the national average. And while insurance helps, you can still pay upwards of several $1,000s just to pop that thing out. Bye-bye former body. So everybody knows your body changed. The least of which is that this section is just, I mean, that's why you have one-piece swimsuits. Because that's just gone. Also, the ladies, this is not a rent-to-own situation when they get bigger. This is like a borrowing situation, and it wants interest. So once you're done with the whole thing, it's a battlefield. Also, sometimes once you give birth, the ligaments and the bones and everything don't quite come back together the right way, and you need physical therapy because your body didn't quite Humpty Dumpty its way back together. And then, you know, but I mean, you have a baby, whatever. And I can't emphasize enough that it's gross. I feel like there's a danger to that. There are certain things that come out of you. I just recently learned about something called a mucus plug, which I can only imagine is like pushing Slimer from the Ghostbusters through your vagina.
What?
And this is not even counting like all the secretions, the placenta, and the, again, have I mentioned that you shit yourself. So, the benefits to laying eggs, now that nobody else wants to have babies. The division of parental responsibility, there'll actually be a really nice equality. We're kind of riding that wave of equality, and it's not just amongst opposite sex relationships. It can't just be, it's not just the woman's duty anymore. Between same-sex couples, let's say one woman carries the baby, biologically it won't be as big a deal for her partner to not feel like, you know, the bio mom or anything. Same thing with poly relationships, etc. Easier adoptions. You just hand someone your egg. You're not born with a barcode, so you just, this is yours now. Based on the gestation period of chickens and snakes who lay eggs, I theorized that we would be pregnant for just 13 days. So that's less than 2 weeks, and I mean, I've had a cold longer than that, so it's, I mean, everything would pop right back. That'd be awesome. So that's a huge benefit. Egg decorating parties. Now, Martha Stewart would shit herself happy. You would have like the hipsters decorating it with burlap. You'd have like the sorority girls bedazzling it. It would be wonderful. It would be great. I mean, you could paint anything you wanted on it. We to develop a bone or cartilage to break out of the egg, which means we could literally finally have, finally, as if we've all been waiting for it, human unicorns. So much more magical than regular humans. So I'm just saying, that sold me. Other mammals lay eggs. There's a spiny anteater that's a mammal that lays eggs. The adorable platypus. And frankly, if an animal comprised of like God's leftovers can survive and thrive this long, it's clearly doing something right. So there will be some downsides. Obviously, I want to be fair. The biggest one, I think, is brunch would be really awkward. Like, Ron Swanson would be really disappointed. And while I appreciate a good tofu scramble, I'm sure people would really, like, it's kind of a bummer. Give me bacon and tofu. Like, it would be awkward. And you know you'd always have that one friend who's like, fuck it, I'm doing it. And it would get weird. Eggs are breakable. Unlike what I've heard, babies are really bouncy. So, there's a bit of a downside. Cannibalism would actually be a real cause for concern. Now it's just like a mild inconvenience. It doesn't happen that often. But you would like never want to invite over like your real stoner friends. And you wake up the next morning and they're like, oh my god, Jenny, I'm so sorry, I got super hammered. But little Johnny was delicious. Like, it would make friendships awkward. Sitting on eggs versus incubators. Now, you thought you'd hear ladies bitching about it in Whole Foods. You'd have, like, yuppie moms hiring, like, people based on how big their ass was to sit on their eggs for them while they worked. And you'd also have the very judgmental natural moms who were like, you don't sit on your own egg. I always sit on my egg. You'd have the kind of like, rednecks who are just like putting it near a radiator and kind of cooking half of it. So it would be a whole new angle for the show Pops. So that brings up, there's certain common concerns, and I've tried to address some of the more common ones. It's unnatural. So unnatural is a really interesting term because unless we decide to just go into the field, pop that kid out, gnaw through the umbilical cord, disregarding science, doctors, and pain medication, that ship has sailed. So it's gonna be unnatural. However, mammals first appeared 220 million years ago, and 35 million years later is when we actually started giving live birth. So that's a good amount of time that we were like, just laying eggs and everything's fine. I mean, we weren't, but. And I can't emphasize enough that the platypus is like a real creature that evolved all on its own. It's not a chihuahua. So nature is not against this. So there is something to be said. The reason we have bigger brains than a bird or a snake, let's say, is because the baby develops inside, so it has room to grow, etc. But, I mean, one, most people aren't using their brains. Donald Trump is a front runner in the GOP race, so, I mean, also, I imagine we would just develop a bigger yolk or placenta in the egg, and it's, again, not something that you have to pass through your vagina. So, I'm just saying. And finally, wouldn't laying an egg hurt as much as a birth? We would evolve to lay soft eggs. Snakes do it, and I think snakes are amazing because they don't have arms or legs, they can climb up trees, and they are the thing of nightmares. So, I mean, they're onto something. So anyway, in conclusion, I definitely think that there's a strong case to be made about evolving towards laying eggs instead of giving birth, because this shit is really weird. Thank you.